Good evening and welcome to the Sherburne County Commissioner Districts 1 and 5 Candidate Forum hosted by the Elk River Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Matt Westgard on behalf of the Elk River Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I'll be your moderator for this evening. I'd like to start by thanking the City of Elk River for allowing us to use this space, their recording equipment, and the ability to televise this candidate forum for all of our viewers countywide. I'd also like to thank the candidates for being here tonight and to help provide the important information for voters before they head to the polls in November. Tonight's event is being recorded live and will be available on the Chamber's website and social media channels shortly after the forum is done. The Elk River Area Chamber does not assume a party affiliation, nor does it endorse any candidate. We are hosting this forum to provide information about the candidates to the public. Since this is a public information forum and not a campaign event, we respectively request that all candidates and audience members refrain from applause or comment that could cause the disruption during the forum. So I'm joined tonight by our timekeeper, Brenda Rue. She will, as you're answering your questions, will hold up the purple sign giving you a 30-second warning of your approaching the end of your time, and then upon the end of your time, she'll hold up the stop sign. We're just asking that you wrap up your answer so that we can keep things on time as we move forward. We'll rotate the order of who answers the questions first and second, etc. Each question has an allocated amount of time. If there's any questions on the floor or you want me to repeat the question when it comes to your turn, certainly just ask. So, any questions? Then we'll get started. First question, we just want to take 2 minutes for each one of you. Introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for office and what your top priorities are if you are elected. And we will start with Mr. Hulse.
Okay, thank you. My name's Andrew Hulse. I'm currently County Commissioner for District 1, which is basically Elk River. My priorities, are, number one, are reducing property taxes and ensuring that we don't tax people out of their homes. I've been active with Representative Novotny as he spoke in the previous forum on writing legislation based on a Florida constitutional change and a Texas law that capped homestead homes that have a homestead exemption, their property value from growing either 3% or CPI, whichever is less. And the reason that's important is because what CPI does, CPI is what Social Security is indexed to. So if you index the home values to CPI or 3%, whichever is less, you prevent people from getting taxed out of their homes. And I think it's a crime for people to live in their homes for 30, 40 years and reach the point just by the nature of real estate and the growth of that and the expansion of those of that value for them to reach a point where they can no longer afford the property tax on their home when they're on a fixed income. So that's my top priority. The second priority is making government more efficient. We have a system, and I'll give a perfect example. Our HHS systems, the systems themselves are so old and so antiquated that today it takes 3 people to do what 1 person used to do. That drives costs. So we need to modernize our systems, make us more efficient so that we can lower property taxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Schumacher.
I'm Brad Schumacher. I'm running for Sherburne County District 5. District 5 includes the Livonia Township, the city of Zimmerman, city of Baldwin, and southern portion of Princeton. My first priority is fiscal responsibility. I'll work tirelessly to hold government accountable by reducing unnecessary spending and keeping taxes low and ensuring our community thrives without financial strain. Secondly, my focus is community development, working to reduce government red tape, fostering an environment that welcomes new developments, both for business and for homes. As a small business owner myself, I know firsthand the importance of smart policy and the damage caused by bad policy. I want to pair my experience with your voices to create job opportunities and a stronger local economy to make Sherburne County a great place to do business in Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Phobie?
Thank you, and first of all, I'd like to thank Debbie and the Chamber and all of you here tonight that are helping put on this forum, all of you here that are in attendance and those that are watching. I've lived in Sherburne County for almost 30 years, having followed my parents here when they chose to move up here after retirement and bought a little house on Little Elk Lake in Zimmerman. My husband at the time, Dr. Rico Ferboni, and I felt it was important to raise our sons near family, so we followed him up here and bought a home on Little Elk Lake. I have a background in social work and Catholic youth ministry, those providing me both with a skill set to work really well with others. I'm an active member and volunteer at Christ Our Light Catholic Church. My faith is a really important part of my personal and professional life. I've been influencing policy for almost 25 years on the state, local, and federal level, and I believe my passions and my skill set lie in serving at the local level in this nonpartisan role. Nonpartisan means that we serve all people and are not beholden to any political party. I do not caucus with any of the political parties, nor do I even meet with them. It's my privilege to have served you as your commissioner for nearly 8 years. My priorities going forward, one is real basic. I will continue to listen to you as the voter and take your voice and be a strong proponent of your voice at the dais with my fellow commissioners. Real parochial, most local to my district up in the Zimmerman area, my second priority is to walk alongside the Zimmerman and Livonia community. We have a ton of transportation projects coming up in that area in the next 4 years. We were able to work with our partners at the state and federal level to leverage lots of funding to get 4 projects done. That's been a #1 priority in Zimmerman. That's just starting, and right now a huge priority needs to walk that with our businesses, our schools, and our local households to make sure that they remain as whole as they can be as we move forward.
Thank you. We'll move to our first topic, of which is repurposing agricultural land. You'll have 3 minutes to answer this question. It's a bit lengthy, so if you want me to repeat it, just let me know. There is increasing demand to repurpose agricultural land for energy production, residential housing, and for economic development, and even for new regional parks and trails. Additionally, use of water, fertilizers, and pesticides for agricultural purposes are increasingly being questioned, even challenged. What are your thoughts on this, and do you believe the county has a role in actively regulating or steering the land uses designed to preserve agricultural land? We'll start this question with Mr. Schumacher.
As residential continues to grow at a rapid pace in Sherburne County, too so will repurposing the land for ag as farmers exercise their right to sell their acreage for new homes, commercial development, or even solar panels. Such development has and will continue to adhere by the guidelines set out in the county's 2040 plan, which was adopted last November. This plan is set forth for us to continue, not to modify and change, but to keep, as was said by Mr. Hudson, to keep the process going. You know, your job is to keep the momentum moving forward. I trust the County Planning and Advisory Board will continue to address each application fairly and objectively, and if there are issues that are needed, as County Commissioner, I will work in all interested parties to ensure a fair resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Phobie, we'll move to you next.
Okay, I'm going to need you to repeat. That's a big question.
It's a big question,
That's
so
a
certainly.
loaded question.
Certainly. There is increasing demand to repurpose agricultural land for energy production, for residential housing, and for economic development, and even new regional parks and trails. Additionally, use of water, fertilizers, and pesticides for agricultural purposes are increasingly being questioned and even challenged. What are your thoughts on this, and do you believe the county has a role in actively regulating or steering land uses designed to preserve agricultural land?
County role in repurposing agricultural land is what it boils down to. Agricultural land generally is owned by individuals. Individuals own their land, and I believe in landowners' rights and their choice to do with their land, and the decision-making is up to that landowner and what they want to do with the land. So as long as they can obtain a permit and it's within the law, I support landowners' rights in repurposing any of that land. I know some of this, I would imagine, comes from the whole solar influx in our area. Over in my area of the world, there's not a ton of solar, and we do regulate anything that's under 50 megawatts, but the bigger solar farms, which I've heard there's possibly something coming into the Livonia, Elk River City area that wants to look, but that would be larger than 50 megawatts. But I believe that the county sets our policies and our ordinances to support, first and foremost, private landowners' rights.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hulse?
Yeah, the role that the county plays in any land use is zoning. So by definition, we set zoning ordinance for various types of properties, and that then provides for specific uses that those properties can be used for. So by definition, the county does have a role in that. Now, that being said, there's a tremendous concern around what ag land is being converted to, and I share that concern, but under the guise of as a former owner of a farm that my family eventually sold for commercial development, I'm a strong believer in a landowner has the rights to sell their land for any use that that land is zoned for. Now, I will say that I will also just comment briefly on the concerns over the amount of solar that's going in, and the reason I share those concerns is that's being significantly driven by the 2040 energy plan that was set forth by the state 2 years ago. The challenge with that, and one of the things that I don't think got addressed earlier, was solar has a place, but solar is designed for it's a peaking facility. It's not base load power. And so we've got a tremendous amount of solar going in, but we've got nothing going in to drive base load power, because all of that was precluded by that 2040 plan of the state legislature. So it's a little bit off topic, but I think it's a valid concern on what ag land is being converted to. Now, that being said, there are also some new projects going in where there are hybrid facilities, where there are crops being raised between the solar panels. So I think that's an interesting application. One of the other commissioners took a tour of those not too long ago. So in summary, is there a role for the county? Yes, by definition, we have a role around zoning and what land uses we provide. We need to be concerned about the conversion of crop growing land to other uses, but there are other valid uses that come in play, including economic development. The more businesses that we can bring in, especially manufacturing that we can bring into the county, that helps lower the tax burden on individuals. So that's another valid reason, I believe, for converting ag land.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our next topic, which is nonpartisanship. This will be a 2-minute question. The elected position of county commissioner is nonpartisan, as are all local elected officials in Minnesota, including mayors and city council members, township supervisors, school board members, and all county offices. County government is strictly prescribed by state law in what it can and cannot do. In today's highly polarized partisan environment, how do you envision remaining nonpartisan and serving all of Sherburne County residences and businesses fairly and without prejudice to a political party or affiliation? Ms. Phobie, we will start this question with you.
Thank Thank you. I have clearly committed to this for my years as a county commissioner and even before then. Like I said in my opening statement, I don't caucus with a party. I don't meet with a party. I have to kind of chuckle when we were up at the forum up in Princeton, the moderator asked, well, where are the Democrats? Do you know who these Democrat candidates are? And I said, I have no clue. I seriously had no clue. So it's something that I've really stayed true to, and I believe it's really important. I believe the topics that we are about, public works, public safety, and public health, are nonpartisan. The roads and bridges that we work on, public safety, supporting our sheriff's office so that we can provide emergency services and be there for everyone, it's a nonpartisan issue. And public health and the health and human services that we provide for all people, again, a nonpartisan issue. We need to work with our state and federal government for everything we do and partner with them. So we do get into the political realm when we deal with our state and federal partners. But I choose to sit on a dais with 5 people that we have some of the best, robust conversations with. We don't agree on everything, we disagree on a lot, but it's some of the best conversations that we're able to have. We have a respect for each other. The 5 of us now, I think, is one of the most respectful boards I've ever served on. We come at it from different angles, but we leave that dais united and serving our public. I think it's imperative that these local boards stay nonpartisan. I had a former Felix Schmiesing, Commissioner Schmiesing, used to say, you know, if they want us to start acting like the state and the feds, pull us into the parties. But I believe it's imperative that we stay nonpartisan, and I have clearly drawn that line in the sand, and everyone knows me, knows that I have done that.
Thank you. We'll move to Mr. Hulse next.
Sure. You know, nonpartisan roles, in my view, mean that you don't have an R or a D next to your name on the ballot. But I've always been of the philosophy that I want people to know where I stand. I want people to know what my underlying values are. And so I don't mind if people know, you know, because I do continue to caucus with one of the parties. To keep this nonpartisan, I won't say which one. But I do continue to caucus with one of the parties. I do continue to be active in one of the parties. And I think that's simply a reflection of my philosophies from a government standpoint and from a governance standpoint. Just being honest with people and letting them know where I stand. I do believe that you have to work with people from all walks of life. At one point in my career, I served as I worked as a lobbyist, not as a lobbyist. I worked with lobbyists in DC on the space program and military weapon systems. And I had to meet with senators and congressmen from both parties. And you have to be able to work with both those because you have to build a coalition. So I completely agree that we have to work together and we have to come at it from different viewpoints and different life experience. But I also believe that it's fine for people to know what my background is and what my core beliefs are.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schumacher.
I'm a conservative. I've said it. I'm okay with that. I was town board supervisor of Baldwin Township, and I was the chairman of Baldwin Township. I moved to town 34 days before an election to run against the liberal mayor in Princeton and won. I've never hidden between who I am and how I was raised and the values that I carry about the business that I operate and who I am. I think people really want to know the transparency of how you're going to be truthful. The truth is, you know, people don't want to hear it, but human prosperity requires the use of fossil fuels. And that's a party question. I mean, they want us to be carbon neutral, and they don't want us to use a single fossil fuel to keep the lights on. It's incredibly challenging that they have this idea and they don't have a plan. I've never hidden behind that. I think the people of Baldwin Township, which is now a city, were represented equally in that process. I know that my opponent forgot to bring up Baldwin Township, 7,200 people, but their voices matter too. And some of it I watched and witnessed she just left us behind because of we're partisan. I mean, town board is partisan. There's 7,000 people there. So I've never hidden behind it. I'm honest, I'm truthful. I caucus as a conservative, and that's where I've been. You have to represent everybody and everybody's voice, and it's not the willingness not to listen to everybody's voice, but it's the values that you carry when you're listening to those people and having the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. We will switch topics and move to state mandates. In Minnesota, county governments are primarily agents and implementers of the state government, especially in areas of public health and social services. Often the state government or legislature imposes requirements on counties without the needed funding to pay for them, which end up increasing the local tax burden. How would you work to address the burdens this places on local tax levies? You have 2 minutes to answer this question, and we will go back to Mr. Hulse to start the responses.
Sure, and this is a fantastic question because it's not just part of what counties do. We are what's known as a Dillon's Rule state, which means the counties are an extension of the state. And so when the state mandates anything to be executed on, it's a requirement for the counties to do so. And what's insidious about that is, as was mentioned in the previous forum, the 40% increase in the budget is just what the state government spent. On top of that are all the unfunded mandates that they forced through to the counties and municipalities, knowing full well that that's going to cost money and that the counties are going to have to also raise taxes in order to meet those statutory requirements. So I think unfunded mandates are as evil as property tax. So I sit on a committee called the General Government Committee for the counties. And I proposed at our annual conference just 2 or 3 weeks ago that we put forth legislation that prohibits the state from issuing unfunded mandates. If we could get such a bill passed, it would require the state, if they're going to require a county to do something, they're going to have to include how you pay for it as well. So the other thing we can do, I believe, is work closely with our legislators to drive down and eliminate some of the existing unfunded mandates as well. People don't have an endless pocketbook to fund these things. And so there is a lot of opportunity to eliminate some of those programs as well.
Thank you. Mr. Schumacher, you're next.
Yeah. Funding for mandates passed by the state legislature has been an ongoing issue for decades, not only for counties, but for townships, for cities, and school boards. At the end of the day, it comes down to all of us impressing upon our state legislators that on many issues, one size does not fit all. And that we need local level to have a handle on the issues within our jurisdiction than on legislators who have never set foot in Sherburne County. I'll work with the fellow commissioners and county staff to make that case. I've always maintained a strong relationship with our local state representatives and state senators, and I know they share our concerns here, and I'll continue to partner with them to reduce and hopefully eliminate unfunded state mandates. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Phoebe.
Thank you. Unfunded mandates are a huge challenge for our county budget. I think, as has already been stated, relationships are key in addressing this. Trust between our county boards, our city boards, our township boards, and our state and federal delegation, so that we're able to communicate and understand these challenges. Money needs to come from somewhere. So we understand this, like Commissioner Halls said, we're a Dillon Rule state. There's only, I believe, 14 of them in the country. Whether that's bad or good, right or wrong, that's the reality. We, as a county, are the administrative arm of the state and federal mandate, the state and federal programs. So we need to provide certain services. I've been elected by my peers on the state level to serve on the Association of Minnesota Counties Executive Board, and also for the National Association on the federal level in leadership. And this puts me at the table with legislative leaders as well as the governor's office to share our story and help paint that picture of how these unfunded mandates challenge us and our financial challenges. I sit in the Association of Minnesota Counties on the Health and Human Services Policy Committee, and the HHS mandates are incredibly challenging, and like Commissioner Hull said, our group also is thinking about doing some kind of resolution going forward. And if you look at the history of our state, it has happened under every administration. It's not one party or the other. We both do it. It's clearly, but I also do think I'm not an advocate. The trifecta was really hard on us, and I should say that I appreciate balanced government where there's some checks and balances, and I think that's where we challenge some of those mandates on each other. So I'm a big proponent of balanced government and being in great relationships with our state and federal legislators.
Thank you. Next topic is tax policy. On the campaign trail, we hear that elected officials want to keep taxes low and slow growth of government spending. Sherburne County has opted for small yet steady annual tax increases to keep up with staffing costs and inflation, as well as new or increased program costs. What do you think is the current approach to what the current approach to county tax? Let me state that again. My apologies. What do you think of this current approach to county taxation? You have 2 minutes to answer this question, and we will start with Mr. Schumacher this time.
As I said, I'm a fiscal conservative. I'll work with like-minded county commissioners to keep the growth of government and taxes under control. This means setting clear priorities among the many competing budget items. This is key. If everything becomes a priority, what we're really saying is that nothing is a priority. My track record is of setting priorities and making tough choices and doing so in open and transparent manner so taxpayers know that their concerns and ideas were heard even if they weren't ultimately adopted. I voted as mayor for zero budget increase. I have no intention of changing that position if elected to the Sherburne County Board. I'll be the person that says zero to raise the levy. It's not always popular, but I'm okay doing that. I did it as mayor in Baldwin Township. We lowered property taxes in Baldwin because we created an environment that was business friendly, that was friendly for developments. We pushed back against the county and we were able to do that. It was successful in Baldwin. It can be successful at a county level too. In the city of Princeton, we expanded our industrial park. I was there to forefront the process to purchase 40 acres of land and use government tax dollars appropriately to lower the taxes based on being able to grow the tax base. And there's always the other portion. We're sitting in Elk River as an example, and there's an enterprise fund. Government has tools to make profit, and when they make profit, they can lower down the levy. So you can get a zero levy increase because you have worked with the enterprise fund. And if you're in Elk River, if you're in Princeton, you know it's the municipal liquor store in the city community. And as the county, they have an enterprise fund and tools that can do the same thing, and they can lower the levy from the enterprise fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Phobie, we'll move to you next.
So this is about budgeting philosophy, and I budget with my head and my heart. I think you have to include both of those when you're creating a healthy budget. And I want to say, first of all, out of 87 counties in 2024, our certified levy as a county was the 9th lowest per capita in the state. 9th lowest per capita. Just let that sink in. We had the 16th lowest certified levy increase in 2024. So we're not at 50, we're not at 60, we're not at 40, we're under 10 with the lowest levy per capita in the state. I recognize that every decision we make, like I said, head and heart. I realize that every decision we make can potentially affect a person's pocketbook. That's a reality that we face. But there's the heart in that. When you're responsible and mandated to provide Health and Human Services. Your heart comes into that a bit. I'm an old social worker. That's the reality. When the county provides critical services, whether those are roads and bridges that can contribute to safety and better mobility, or HHS to assist, as I did in this last 6 months, the retired law enforcement individual struggling with PTSD so bad that he was drinking himself to death. I got the call from a neighbor who said, I don't know if the county does this, but my neighbor's drinking himself to death and he's a great guy. And to help him connect to voluntary county services to get him to treatment, to live a decent life for these last month or years. That's our role in county government. So every decision we make affects someone's life. So we identify those essential mandated services. We build a budget around them. I think slow and steady is much better than we have people to our south who have had 0%, 0%, 0%, and then they're up to 15. I'd rather do slow and steady
Thank
than
you.
dramatic.
Sorry to cut you off. We would like to try to stay on time. Mr. Hulse, you're next.
Sure. So the tax burden in this state is reprehensible. And that's all levels of taxation. That's property tax, that's sales tax, that's income tax. Whether or not individuals choose to believe it or not, we are strangling this state, and we are strangling our prosperity. And it's only a matter of time if we continue down this path before we reach a critical mass and ruin the economy. Is what it'll come down to. And I've seen it happen before. I saw it happen in Indiana when I was growing up. Yes, in the county, it's been said that we can't control all things, but we have a part to play in that. So it's very important to minimize the levy increases that we have. Yes, they have been slow and steady. I don't think slow and steady enough. I would like to see them slower and steadier. In order to do that, we're going to have to find new ways of doing things. I've led transformations in organizations. Some of you are familiar with the term Six Sigma or Toyota Production System or Lean. Those things have to be adopted in government, specifically in the county level, and you can't do it part-time. So, yeah, do I want to add a head count in the county? I do. I want to add a head count that they don't eat if we don't save money year after year after year on projects. That's how we get more efficient. That's how we go slower and steadier with the levy. And I think that's the way that we move forward.
Thank you. We'll move to our last question of the evening. And the topic is the landfill. With the 2019 closure of Elk River's GRE Resource Recovery Facility and the impending closure of Hennepin County Energy Recovery Facility, the Elk River landfill is filling up faster than planned, and Sherburne County is increasingly being looked at as the Metro's dumping ground. Both Waste Management and Vonco are looking at expanding both the footprint and operation of their existing landfills. What ideas would you bring to the county board to address the challenges faced by this quickly changing industry? We have 2 minutes on this question, and we will start with Ms. Phoebe.
Thank you. This landfill situation is dire for the entire state. And I really, really call on our state legislators to help us figure this out and come to the table with this, because we need some efforts higher than us with solid waste management as a state. But the county board is taking some really active roles currently to help divert things from a landfill, because we have to control the things we're able to control. So currently we're looking at a new household waste facility We're citing a place for that. Currently, our only place where we can take things is way up in Wade Park. We have a partnership with Stearns and Benton County, so that's quite a hike for most people. So we're looking to have our own HHW facility in Sherburne County. We've just done a whole study of source-separated organics, especially in our school systems. So much of the food waste is going into the trash, and that just gets hauled to the landfill. So we're looking at programs that can support that. We have many recycling initiatives. We support our township recycling days with our SCORE funding. We just had a huge mattress collection. I think they said they collected like over 100 mattresses that would have ended up in a landfill or in your local ditch. We have a battery program. We have a plastics program. We support our city composting facilities. So I think we have to work as a county on what we can control. It's my understanding that Waste Management is working on this very actively to expand the landfill and to increase the capacity there. There's a lot of that we can't control. But within the law, since it is located in Sherburne County, I do want to look at is how can we capitalize as a county on anything that comes from outside the county into the county to our landfill. So.
Thank you. Mr. Hulse, we'll move to you next.
Sure. I sit on the Solid Waste Committee for the county, and this is a significant issue. And I agree. I absolutely agree that that Hennepin County and the metro area looks to Sherburne County to be their dumping ground, and frankly, I resent it. We do have some plans in place that we are working on to try to ensure that the solid waste that goes into the landfill is primarily from Sherburne County, to limit that. 25% of the solid waste that goes in the landfill right now is organics. If we can, we just started a pilot program, primarily institutional, to do source-separated organics, which will keep that out of the landfill. Once again, the Energy 2040 plan outlawed the trash to energy conversion plants. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to relook at that. The Great River Energy plant that was in Elk River was inefficient. But I think we need to look at the possibility of modifying that legislation, because we cannot continue to throw stuff in the landfill. Look at perhaps there's new, more advanced technology from that older plant, and we could potentially bring online a new facility to do that same thing that the old facility did. I think we need to take a strong look at that. There are dollars available through the SCORE funds to do something along those lines. And so I think that's another route that we have to be creative on, but we're going to have help from the legislature, because we have to modify the 2040 plan in order to allow that type of infrastructure.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Schumacher.
It's community engagement. It's really community education and community engagement. We were extremely successful in township cleanup days. People want organized trash collection. They want to participate. It's getting them educated. If anybody really wants to see the impact, take a tour out to the landfill and just drive all the way up on top of that hill and look at how high it is and all of the impact. And if you really want to get the impact to a community-wide thing, it's take a field trip to the landfill and educate the children so the kids come back and they express the stuff to their parents. That's how we're really going to get this, under control. It's not a one-size-fits-all problem. They do look at us to drop the trash here, and they truck it. I mean, we know it. It drives right up 169 every day, and there's lots of trucks and lots of driving lanes. But it really comes down to educating the community. Go to your local Quick Trip, and there's 5 different bins, and they're loading each one of those bins up. Responsible people want to do it, and it's really getting the community buy-in to work together with us to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the topics and the questions that we had prepared for this candidate forum. We do have a few minutes left, so we would like to afford each one of you 1 minute to wrap up and say whatever it is you would like the voters to know about you as we head to the polls in November. So we will start with Mr. Hulse. You have 1 minute for a wrap up.
Thanks very much. So Andrew Hulse, I'm County Commissioner for District 1. I think the thing that I would like folks to know the most is I'm 2 years into this job. It's a short cycle because of redistricting for this particular role. I think we've made progress in the county on looking at how we do budgeting, on how we be creative, how we do transformational change with the types of things that we do. But I think it's a journey that we've got to continue on. So I would look forward to the next 4 years on continuing that transformation and making Sherburne County a shining example of how efficient government can possibly be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schumacher.
I'm Brad Schumacher. I'm running for Sherburne County District 5. District 5 includes Livonia Township, the city of Zimmerman, the soon-to-be city of Baldwin, and the southern portion of Princeton. My background is township government. It's the organic way government should be run, and where the voters decide the budget, and you as an elected official have to make it work with what you're given and do your best and come to an annual meeting and explain to the taxpayers how you spent their money. It's accountability. It's how I started. It's how I'm going to continue. With your support, I'm going to continue that exact same way. Yes, I was the mayor of the city of Princeton, and you do the budget a different way. But the basis of a conservative values, conservative budgeting, conservative taxing has come from the role of township government. I was township supervisor, and then I was promoted to township chairman. And you're accountable to each taxpayer at every annual meeting. And I believe in that process, and I will do the same thing at the Sherburne County level. I ask for your support in November, and early voting is open. So if you want to come vote today, you definitely can do that
Thank you.
at Sherburne County.
Ms. Phobie?
Thank you. As your county commissioner, my focus will always be on supporting people, not politics or party lines. I come to this role with no preconceived agenda. I've seen some information circulating that misrepresents who I am, how I serve, my record, and the work I've done. I believe it's essential to stick to the facts and focus on what's important for the county. I want to clarify any misunderstandings and invite anyone with questions to please give me a call. I've always been transparent and accountable to the people I serve, and I remain committed to running a positive, fact-based campaign. As your commissioner, my focus will be on county-specific ideas and issues. Some of the issues I've seen on the flyers being circulated fall outside the scope of a county commissioner's duties. They are issues handled on the state and federal level. It's crucial for voters to have realistic expectations about what this role can and cannot be. And my goal is to continue advocating for practical, meaningful solutions that are well within our authority. I thank you for being here tonight. I will be an advocate for you, and I ask for your vote on November 5th.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of the Elk River Area Chamber of Commerce, we would like to thank all of you for participating tonight and giving the citizens and residents of Sherburne County the opportunity to hear some of your viewpoints and perspectives on the topics. And for everyone here, we thank you for participating and coming to this political or to this candidate forum. And thank you and have a good evening.